The publication Alpine Journal once noted that at a listed elevation of 7,830 metres, the Descartes Highlands had finally been conquered by the American pair of Young and Duke in 1972. The approaches are basic, with no cliffs, gorges or glaciers nearby. What caused the delay? I'll say that again. The publication Alpine Journal once noted that at a listed elevation of 7,830 metres, the Descartes Highlands had finally been conquered by the American pair of Young and Duke in 1972. The approaches are basic, with no cliffs, gorges or glaciers nearby. What caused the delay?
I'm thinking weather initially, but perhaps that comes in under the sort of your description of it not actually being that difficult in terms of terrain.
It was a bit rainy and they thought they wouldn't bother.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, not doing it.
Everyone forgets to bring their umbrella.
They just didn't get around to it.
Is it something to do with where the territory is? It's kind of disputed territory maybe, and people can't go there. It's disputed between two countries. That's what I'm thinking.
Is it that they all thought it had already been conquered? This is like one of these weird things where there's some official thing, which means that until you do this, it's not officially conquered, but they never actually got, like they never thought to do it because everybody had access to this place anyway, that kind of thing. I'll take Tom's silence as a no.
Was it left off of maps or something? They just didn't know that it was there. They were like, oh, this is here. I have no idea what we're talking about, by the way. Geography, history, no clue.
I love it when all three people come in with completely different suggestions at the start. So Jack, kind of disputed territory, difficult to get there. Luke, just too easy to get there. It had already been conquered, surely, and no one had done it. And Corry, it just wasn't charted. It just wasn't on the maps until then. Of the three of you, Jack is the closest. It was very difficult to get to, but it wasn't disputed.
Was it underwater?
At a height of 7,800.
It depends where you measure from, you see. If that's from sea level, then...
It's from the centre of the earth.
But it's from 7,000...
Yes. Pay attention to the question, Luke.
Is that particularly high? That's not particularly high, 7,830 metres.
That's quite high.
That's sort of 22,000 feet. That's a very, very high mountain.
Oh, is it that there used to be some sort of level above which something was considered like international territory? And then they moved that level, and now suddenly you were able to conquer an area which was previously like neutral zone.
That is a lot closer than you might think.
Sort of like how there are some houses where you don't own the ground underneath your house. So if there's oil found there, like the king or some like random duke owns the oil, and then you might not own the sort of sky above your house. So something in that area, like a legal change, meant that this area was able to be conquered.
Like some kind of military base or something. Like the army was using it for some reason, and so it was dangerous to go there.
Did the top get chopped off and it now was lower, and that put it in some kind of legal zone, like some area? So if it wasn't a legal change to the line, it was like a change to the height.
Was it, a physical change to the mountain?
The mountain didn't change, but you're right that this couldn't have been conquered before about 1972, around that time.
There was some kind of collapse, like the tectonic plates underneath the earth sort of dropped down a bit, and now the whole thing was up for grabs.
No, the terrain was so flat you could actually just drive there.
So it wasn't that something was underwater then, and that water just kind of left.
Definitely not.
I was thinking a bit of the mountain sort of broke off that made it impossible to climb up previously.
Is there something strange about, for example, like the whole thing used to be covered in something, and then that thing died or melted if it was ice, and there's something about like how you can't own, like for example, you can't own Antarctica, right? There's some legal treaty that's like you can't own Antarctica. So something changed about the terrain, which means it was allowed to be owned now. It was protected in some way before, and then global warming.
Before the 1960s, then I guess, yes, this would have been a disputed territory. There were some treaties put in place in the 60s that kind of settled that. No one could claim this.
What was it, Antarctica?
No.
Because they sort of split it into...
No, but it's very inaccessible.
Is this in space? Is this on the moon and not on Earth? Is that is that what this is?
Yeah, I had to be very careful about the clues there, didn't I? The American pair of Young and Duke in 1972.
Oh, did Young and Duke go on that website that's like buythemoon.com and they bought a bunch of the moon and then they were like, right, it's conquered now?
Yeah, that is where Orion, the module from Apollo 16, landed, and that was John Young and Charles Duke who were on that mission in 1972.
Brilliant.
And I had to be really careful about sea level. The measurement is from the moon's kind of average radius, and the height's taken from there.
Very good.
So, yes, the Alpine Journal noted, mostly as a joke, that the Descartes Highlands had finally been conquered in 1972 because they were on the moon.